Good evening. Welcome to the Falls Township Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, October 8th. We'll begin with a salute to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Takita, can you call the roll?
Mr. Dents?
Here.
Ms. Mullen?
Here.
Mr. Palmer? Here. Let the record reflect that Jeff Brasky and Brian Galloway are not present.
Right. All right. Do you want to report on our executive session, Ms. Gallagher?
Yes, the board met in executive session earlier this evening to discuss matters of personnel and collective bargaining.
All right. No public comment. Well, there's nobody here. Item number three, consideration of approval for agreement for permitted use of easement for 121 Burgess Avenue. Mr. Takita?
I'll actually take that one. This is an easement agreement, as you mentioned, for 121 Burgess Avenue. Property owner is interested in constructing an addition on their property, and in order to do so, they would encroach on the township's easement. Mr. Takita and Mr. Jones have both reviewed this request and are comfortable with the granting of the request, but because it is the construction of an addition rather than a fence or a shed, and it is therefore permanent, it is in front of the board for consideration, as it will not be revocable. Once it is in, the addition will remain.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Ms. Gallagher? Mr. Palmer?
No questions.
Questions?
No questions. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Item number four, consideration of approval for agreement for permitted use of easement for 252 Willow Drive.
And again, this is an encroachment agreement which would allow the construction of a fence. This encroaches on an easement, but it also encroaches on township property. Again, Mr. Takita and Mr. Jones have both reviewed this. There are no issues with any site triangles, or there's no active use of that area of the township's property, so both Mr. Takita and Mr. Jones are comfortable with this encroachment agreement if the board is comfortable.
All right. Again, any questions for board members, Mr. Palmer?
No questions.
Ms. Mullen?
No.
I have none. Is there a motion? There's no public comment. There's no one here.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That takes us to item number 5, is our budget workshop. Who's running the show here?
Thank you. Matt, do you want to take the introduction for the budget workshop? Okay. For tonight's budget workshop, you should all have an agenda in front of you and a couple of handouts. I'd like to review the budget timeline with everyone. The first item on the proposed budget timeline are budget workshops. We held one in September. We have one tonight, and there will be a third one on November 12th. Board members can contact me regarding one-on-one discussions anytime from now through November 20th. The budget presentation to the board will be on November 25th, and the public inspection of the proposed budget will be from November 27th through December 17th. We intend to adopt the 2025 budget at the December 17th Board of Supervisors meeting. The next item on the agenda is the 2025 capital budget requests by department. I had forwarded you this listing end of last week, and it lists all of the departmental requests from the department heads for the 2025 budget. We've got 3 of our department heads here this evening to answer any questions that you may have on their individual line items. I don't think you need me to go over this line by line, it's rather lengthy. Were there any items that needed further clarification or that you would like to hear from the department head on?
I'll start with Parks and Rec. The one thing that really popped out was the slide for the pool at over $250,000. Is that the going price for a slide, or?
As of right now, can you hear me? Is that on? Okay. Okay, right now, we've talked to one contractor through CoStars. So the slide itself is expensive. It's in the 160 range. It's the install is extremely expensive. I'm looking for better install price. The company we're dealing with is through PA CoStars. And their installer, the closest installer they could find right now is out of Georgia. But I'm trying to get somebody more local. There's a place in Ben Salem I'm waiting to hear back on. So I'm hoping to bring that cost down. Plus, I'm looking into some other manufacturers to see what we can do there. Yeah, it popped out to me too when I got that
So it's
cost.
160,000 for the
It
slide.
would be 166 and some change, and then installs like 100 and some change. So it's crazy. It goes along with the playground replacements we've been doing.
Right.
You see the price tags on some of them are extremely high. So it's that slide's 15 years old. So
And I guess we can't just have Public Works install it.
I don't know with a new slide going in. I'd be more comfortable with an installer putting it in from a, probably from a liability standpoint. But that's something, I mean, we could look at that.
I think me,
It's an
Palmer, and
option.
Richie could do it on a weekend.
We can look at it. That'd be something I have to talk to Joe or Nao about. So, yeah, all options are open there. I'm definitely looking for some better pricing on install, see if we can bring that number down. So, yeah, it's really high. So,
Yeah, that was the one thing that popped out at a
yep,
couple of
absolutely.
us, so.
Same here.
Anybody else?
I wanted some justification for the vehicle replacements, but I believe that's Public Works, and nobody's here from Public Works. How about for police? We don't have the police department's detail here, but I think I remember vehicle replacement. So, Chief, if you want to talk about that.
Yes, we have a replacement plan for our vehicles. We spec it out years into the future. So we replace vehicles when they get to the 5-year mark. There are 4 patrol vehicles slated for replacement in 2025 and 1 detective vehicle.
And I imagine, that I can understand how the schedule works, but are they also, does that ever mean we're replacing vehicles that maybe don't need to be replaced yet?
What we found over the years is we were hanging on to vehicles in the past beyond the 5-year mark, and they become maintenance intensive. So we used to spend $250,000 every year, believe it or not, on vehicle maintenance. And we've cut that by more than half by having this vehicle replacement plan. So we feel like we're getting a safer product. We're not having vehicles out there that have excessively high mileage on them. The 5-year time frame is the warranty period for most of the lighting and the other upfitting materials that are in the cars. But if we keep them longer than 5 years, we find that our maintenance cost goes way up.
Okay, thank you. And then maybe we can just get a write-up from Public Works about the justification for their vehicle. It looks like it's just one dump truck.
Yes, the one tandem dump truck is a 15-ton. That's the largest dump truck that we have. It carries, again, it's the largest dump truck we have. It also does snow plowing. It is, I believe he said, over 20 years old, so it has reached its lifespan. While it is still running well, the concern is going to be that it will at some point fail, and we don't want it to fail while it's in the middle of doing a project. It's a very large truck.
And it's the only thing that does certain
Correct.
jobs?
It is, yes.
Okay.
And the dump body is part of that purchase. And the longer we wait to trade it in, the faster, the quicker the value of the dump truck is going. So we want to get a decent trade in for that.
Okay. Can somebody just answer this traffic impact fee study and just what that is?
The traffic impact fee study, in order for us to implement a traffic impact fee, a study is required under the MPC. The cost of that study is going to be approximately $225,000. And what they will do is they'll assess the township, and based on the current conditions and possible projected conditions, will determine roughly how much money we could make in revenue off of an impact fee.
And who would pay the impact fee?
It would be developers, new developers coming in. The township at this point right now, we should start to look to see where there are redevelopment opportunities for this township. There's a lot of underutilized properties and places that can be repurposed. So now would be a good time for us to look at the traffic impact fee, so that when we do any kind of new development, large-scale development, that we can, that would be a good source of new revenue.
Thank you. And then I guess my other, do you have any more?
Didn't make it to me yet.
I just would like, I need info on the last page, the capital budget requests. Just kind of a, almost like a rating system. How are these urgent issues? I don't know what we could come up with, but.
On the last page,
Yeah.
that's the next item.
Oh. We're not there? I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna back up, with the truck, I saw the notes on there of where the money was coming from, are those your notes?
Those are Joe's notes.
Okay.
But the money will be split between the host community fees and money that's available in the liquid fuels fund.
Pay for the truck.
Yes. We normally split the cost of those trucks between the two funds.
They should also look at privately selling that, they might get a better deal than trading it in.
And actually, Joe had mentioned selling, putting on, what do you call it?
Municipal.
No,
Municipal,
don't do that.
because-
Call the guy that we gave you the contact info for, from when I was at PSATs.
We'll have to take a look. It might have to be auctioned.
No, that's what they do.
Okay.
They'll come in, they do the appraisal, they do everything, they do the listing.
Right, okay. Yeah, because the one question that Joe had was whether or not we'd actually would be able to use it as a trade-in,
Right.
because they're different models, so.
Yeah, you remember, you know what I'm talking about, right?
I don't
You still
recall.
have the contact info for
I
him?
should still have that, though.
Yeah. Yeah, we run into a couple of companies that actually do that. They'll come and they'll appraise your vehicle, they take all the pictures, and they have a good reputation, and they have a lot more experience in, I don't know.
Okay.
We don't seem to have good luck just doing it ourselves. Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, I'm gonna start with Public Works, or not Public Works, Park and Recs. Kirby Park, I know the police department has a project going on over there, and there's a lot of requests for funding for the basketball court and whatnot. Can you give us a status report on that?
We had that budgeted for this year, and then the police department is looking to do a renovation project on there. I just included it in the budget in case there was any changes there. So it's just more of a contingency request, I guess, at this point, till we find out a little further along how that's going to go in terms of the police, with the 501c3. The chief and might be able to talk about that a little bit, and maybe Lieutenant Clark, maybe. Might be a better fit. But I just put that there as a backup in case, we look to do it, because,
Chief, do you have any knowledge on that as of now, or you need to follow up with us?
They could probably update us at one of our meetings.
Yeah, I'd be happy to follow up. I think Lauren and I can get together and update where we're at.
Excellent.
Certainly.
I definitely have concerns about the pool with the slide. I know this year, I think, with some adjustments, we were able to get through this year, calling it even with rate increase. I don't know how that would happen with that kind of an expenditure.
like I said, I want to see if we can do better on that expenditure. I don't want to wait till the slide becomes to the point where it breaks on us during the middle of summer and it's caution taped off. I don't think that's a good look. In terms of, I am going to propose some rate increases at the pool, substantial ones, to cover some costs. I think we have to start looking at that going forward. Looking at our numbers, and our rates are pretty competitive, but I think we need to go up and, to cover things like this going forward.
Also, these large capital expenditures won't have to be covered by pool revenues. It doesn't come from the pool fund. These would be capital items that come out of the host community bonus fund.
Understood, but if you look at our complete capital request, every one is under the host community fees. Nothing comes
Yes.
out of operating.
Right, no,
And
not
that
capital
doesn't
items. These
sustain
are
our
capital
budget.
items.
and especially in go forward mode. We have a long way to go to try to get to where we need to get to, and I think the whole mentality needs to change in the go forward mode with every department. I was looking under the police department's capital requests. I'm not an accountant, but I'm not sure how gloves are considered a capital expense. A car wash, Ford patrol vehicles are definitely a capital expense. A Ford Escape is a capital expense. Thornridge Hardware, I'm not sure. I was always under the belief if something goes 3-5 years out, it's an asset. Shift equipment, and then I see a whole lot of operating stuff on the first sheet. I don't know who I need, Chief, can you answer this? The first page of the capital, pretty much the whole entire thing looks like an operating budget sheet, and why is it in capital?
I'll answer that for you. Historically, the police department has been given a flat sum to work within. So they've been given a capital budget of a certain amount that they have to stay within.
Shouldn't that be operating, just because historically,
I understand that, yes, and it can
Paragraph.
certainly all be moved to the general fund in their regular
it
operating
should be under
budget.
operating.
Yes, that
Absolutely.
is correct.
So
That is
this definitely
correct.
needs to get cleaned up for the next presentation, for sure.
That's fine. We can move those items into the general fund.
They're definitely not capital.
Because the host community fee subsidizes the general fund so heavily, it just means more money being transferred into the general fund, so it doesn't reduce the host community fees expenses.
Our accountant's more accurate, though.
Right. That can be done, no problem.
That's about all I have for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then the last item on our agenda are the proposed capital projects, the township-wide projects. These obviously have to be reviewed and prioritized so that we have an order of completion on them. Our engineer is here and could answer any more specific questions about these large projects. I have notes next to the first couple that really seem to indicate that these items could be put on hold. We're looking at a reimbursement on South Olds Boulevard culvert. The Rice Drive culvert, there is an alternate solution. Amesbury Road has, an inlet cleaning was done, and seems to be a non-issue at this point, so we can probably hold off on that project as well. So those, the singular largest item on that list is Willow Drive for a full depth road reconstruction. But as I said, our engineer is here if you have any questions on the specifics of each project.
What's the status of the Rice Drive culvert? That one's been going on for a long time.
Yes, the Rice Drive culvert, excuse me, has been repaired, patched, so it's safe. And the former public works director met with someone out there that indicated they can do a slip line for cast in place pipe, which would, reduce the cost significantly. So we didn't close that loop. We'd like to close that loop with that company and make sure that we can do that. And we would recommend we do that and watch it over the next 10 years or so, and maybe address it at a later time if necessary. Because the slip line could potentially fix it permanently.
What's the cost to fix it permanently?
He was talking about order of magnitude $50,000. Oh, you mean the full reconstruction was 700? I think we had it listed at 650,000
So the
Engineering.
plus engineering, you're not included. Actually, I'm mistaken. 750 was our estimated value to replace the culvert. And the reason why the price is so high is because the end walls become massive.
Right.
To replace the pipe sizes that are there.
Okay. But the repair is only $50,000, and
If they do the slip line.
then you can still repave the whole thing.
Yes. Essentially, that strengthens a pipe from the inside.
Okay, thank you.
Joe, are we mandated by the MS-14 to do so much stormwater upkeep and management?
Yes, sir. We are, under our 5-year permit, we're obligated to reduce our pollution, and the pollution for our streams is sediment due to construction. And so, under our 5-year permit, we're required to reduce that by 10%. And so when we go through the calculations to identify projects that would reduce it in its tonnage of sediment, we've identified a few, maybe 4 or 5 projects that get us there. The one that's on the budget list was the bigger one because that's like the largest scale project that we have, and it gives us the best MS4 credits for it. But yes, the answer to your question is we're obligated to do this under a 5-year window, which expires March of 2026. And due to our relationship with DEP, I'm confident that as long as there's progress on these projects, that the permit will renew, and we'll just have to identify another 10% for the ensuing 5 years.
Thank you.
To that point, what have we done so far?
We haven't provided any projects yet on the pollution reduction. We've recently identified the solutions that we have. We had some that we were budgeted for, but as we got through the design and through the preliminary engineering, we realized that it wouldn't provide the credits that we thought it would. For example, there was a stream bank restoration we identified along Route 13. And, for sure, we would have gotten the credits that we were seeking, but then we realized that there would have been, issues with PennDOT and acquiring right-of-way, and so that dropped off, and we had to identify one to replace it.
So this is the only project on the horizon that will get us those MS4 credits?
This is the only one that I think bears the discussion. The rest of them are things that Public Works can do and smaller scale projects. There's one on our list of MS4 projects that requires us to interface with, I think it's the Jefferson Hospital folks, because there's a pretty big woodland, de facto wet area that we think if we built some 4 bays, and there would be a communication with them, and there may be a cost share. So that one might rise a little bit, but the rest of them are kind of smaller potatoes projects that we can do.
This Martins Creek one, that's the one when you first come in off of Mill Creek on the right, where it
Yes.
goes under the canal?
Yes. So that project, we were asked by yourself to, take care of the stagnant water issue that's there. And so we had a project identified to do that, but what we realized that is if we were to divert some of the flow of Martins Creek to a sediment 4 bay across the access drive as you're exiting, that would be on your right. And that would give us an enormous amount of MS4 credits because there's a big drainage area that connects to it. And it would also provide an aesthetic feature to the park that we were excited about. It would be a body of water, a water feature. It would give us the MS4 credits, and we could take advantage of the ponding that we would create and use fountain aeration. And we think it would kind of be a cool aesthetic.
Just common.
Yes.
The spot we're talking about, where the creek, if you come in on New Falls, the creek goes under the canal. And this has happened before it was even our park. And there's one little culvert, right, that goes under. And they piled crap around it for years to try and keep it from eroding. And then at one point, a little bit upstream, they put 4 really large drainage pipes for some reason. I don't know what the logic was. I never understood why.
Yeah, I think if the water
And that's
backs
where it
up,
always floods.
yes, I think if the water backs up, the purpose was to backflow the water to an open area to give it some relief instead of
Because there was
topping the
no
road.
park there.
Yeah.
Is that where the beavers are too? What's going on there?
It's not as bad lately, but when you get a lot of rain, that'll flood back over.
Right.
When it's really bad.
Right. Yeah, it's been a problem forever.
Yes.
Before it was a park.
Yes.
What about Amesbury Road?
The Amesbury drainage issue that we have been chasing for a while was flooding onto the rear yards of the folks that live along Lower Marsville Road. And again, there was some, pipes that were flowing in different directions, for lack of a better phrase. And Public Works went out and did a thorough cleaning of the inlet that was where the water would pond. And since that's been cleaned, there hasn't been flooding complaints on the properties.
So that might be okay.
I think that's good the way it is, yes. And it's been quite some time since that inlet was cleaned. We've had plenty of heavy storms and haven't heard any complaints.
Okay. Now, Willow Drive,
Yes.
what is that engineering wise, how bad of shape is Willow Drive?
Willow Drive was identified, I believe, in the 21 through 23 road program, and these were all coming from the roadmaster's list of roads that needed to be reconstructed. There was 30 or 40 of them when I started up with T&M in 2007, and we worked our way methodically through the list. And Willow Drive, so you recall, we redid all the side streets in these neighborhoods and left the drives because we didn't want to interrupt the entire neighborhood during construction. So for example, Pinewood, we did the side streets, I forget what year it was, but knew we'd have to come back and address the drives. So Willow is the last of the 3 drives. I believe it was Elderberry, Pinewood, and Willow. And so we did Elderberry, we did Pinewood in 2022, and Willow's just next up. In terms of whether it's dangerous, no.
Right, so that's kind of my same question, because I understand a schedule, and schedules are nice, but I have to imagine that sometimes we are replacing roads that don't need it yet. So, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, you know, if you say it's not, it's not dangerous at all.
Yeah, I think that whole idea was that it was technology from 50 or 60 years ago, and typically the way they were built, all roads would drain to an intersection. Some cases, there was significant flooding at those intersections. It's just not designed in current standard. The pavement is, you know, deteriorated in different places, but it's not like it's falling apart and we have to
Right.
immediately go out and do it.
And then is it something that really has to be done all at one time, or could it be segmented out?
We could segment it, absolutely. Cut it in
We did
quarters.
Drive like that.
We did.
3 different sections.
Yep. So we could, you know, probably go from the low to the high, obviously, so we go down to where the water drains and take a portion. So we could back into a construction number if that's where you're leading it. And in other words, if you said we allocated X amount of dollars for that project, we could find a project. That could probably help out with whether it's quarters or
Okay,
something smaller.
that was very helpful, thank you, all of you.
Anything else?
No, that's everything. So as you can see from our discussion, these items are pretty fluid. They change as everyone gets more information from whatever professional they're working with on getting prices. Department heads are very diligent in looking for grant funding, getting the best price, going through co-stars, getting multiple quotes. So these items will change between now and budget adoption. I will update the board as, you know, major changes occur, obviously not with every dollar that changes. If you have further questions or you want to review anything in detail, just email me, call me, we can set a time to go over things. The next budget work session will be in November, and at that point, I will have the line item budgets for each of the funds available for review. And in the meantime, I will reallocate all of the police expenses and leave only the capital and host community fees and reallocate to the general fund. Are there any questions for me?
No.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the manager comment, and we have no manager comment, right? Right. This is the board comment. Mr. Palmer,
No comment.
Ms. Mullen?
No comment.
I have no comment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.